Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous Discovery. This is the series where I head on out into the galaxy to find the unusual, the spectacular and the beautiful. On today's episode, the backdrop of space fades from black to an ever-present brightness as I close in upon the edges of the galactic core. I then take a look at some of the most beautiful places in the galaxy. The galaxy of Elite Dangerous is immense, truly mind-bogglingly large, 400 billion star systems with way less than 0.1% so far discovered by the player base. With the arrival of a whole bunch of new players with the release of the PlayStation 4, I thought it time to have a look not only at my recent expeditions, but also at my previous ones. It's a good reminder to all players, and it's a good inspiration for new players for places that they may not know even exist. Here then is Sol, 22,000 light years away from my current location. Of course, the populated systems around Earth are not the only inhabited area within space. There is also Colonia, another area of space nearly 25,000 light years away from the home of humanity. But here, I'm closing in on the edges of the centre of the galaxy, in a region that you may well notice is dramatically different from areas you may have seen back there in inhabited space. Out here, the star field increases in density as the proximity of the stars are all very close to each other. But that's nothing compared to my destination, which you can see over there in the distance, a place that is so bright due to the sheer number of stars there, many of them located within much less than 1 light year of each other. At the very centre of that compact cluster is a supermassive black hole known as Sagittarius A, a destination which I visited before a number of years ago, but a place which I'm once again heading towards. Now of course, many long-time players of Elite Dangerous will know all of this already, but do keep in mind there's a massive new audience along for the ride, and it's quite likely that many of the new PlayStation 4 players will be very unaware of what's out there in the depths of space. Now the game doesn't really encourage you in ways of gameplay to come out here and have a look and start exploring around, aside from the fact that it does now offer a few passenger missions that will carry you out there maybe 20, maybe even 30,000 light years sometimes. But true exploration is about using your own initiative out here and even making your own discoveries. So this is my current location. It brings us up to date with where I am right now. But this is not the only expedition I've had. There's been many others over the past few years, and I'm going to have a brief look at some of the most spectacular of those. Some of them are so beautiful that they're well worth looking at again, and of course, like I say, there'll be many of you that may not even know these places exist. Now this is the Val Nebula West. Many people agree that it is perhaps the most unique area in the entire game. You can also make it here in a relatively cheap ship. If you get yourself a Diamondback Explorer here with a good jump range, you'll be able to get out here in almost no time at all. Now it's not particularly densely populated in the number of planets that are out here, and almost none of those are going to be landable. That's just the nature of this nebula, but it's nonetheless worth it due to the backdrop. In fact, nebula are dotted all around the galaxy. Here is one I visited on my previous excursion towards the galactic core. And even now, this many years into release, it's still possible to locate nebulas that have been undiscovered by other players. This one is what's known as a Planetary Nebula, a small little bubble that's essentially only in diameter of a single system. These are highly prized discoveries, and very few people actually ever come across them. Very hard to find on the galactic map, and more often than not, people come across them by chance. But one place you will have already seen, even on your first day in Elite Dangerous, is Barnard's Loop, that horseshoe-shaped nebula that's off there way in the distance. Here I am at the Witchhead Nebula, which brings me much closer to Barnard's Loop itself. Now this is a densely packed cluster of nebula. There's all sorts of places in here, including the Orion Nebula, as well as the Horsehead Nebula, and of course the Flame Nebula. Now much of the area surrounding this nebula is permit locked, so in order to get here you'll have to head towards the Witchhead Nebula first. But it's a journey that you won't forget, and it's by far and away one of my most favourite areas in the entire galaxy. In fact, back when the game was released, such was the appeal of Barnard's Loop over there in the vast distance that I headed towards it in a Cobra. Now the jump range was low and we couldn't plot long-range navigation journeys back then, so it was fairly tough going. I finally made it there though, and the effort was certainly well worth it. Now my advice is, if you've got a taste for exploration, then to get a long-range ship and head on out into the depths of the galaxy. Now some people just pick a direction and go, other people have a destination in mind. The downside is, of course, that the amount of jumps involved are quite off-putting, and it can take a very long time to actually get anywhere. For me, I'm not a huge fan of all the travelling involved, but I love exploring these sorts of locations. So with that said, my suggestion is to open the galaxy map and take a long look at the sort of places you'd like to see. Don't just think horizontally though, because you can travel above and below the galactic plane. And you can see that's exactly what I've done here. Way up above the galaxy and looking down at it, the entirety of the Milky Way is spread out below me. With the enhanced engines now, it's actually possible to get up much higher than even this. It really is the sheer variety of locations that keep me coming back to exploration again and again. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.